Yo, what's up guys? It's Mike, your boy Mr. cHoW here, coming at you with a video. Gonna talk to you guys briefly about an experience I had urban exploring at Norwich State Hospital in Connecticut. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. The story takes place about 2 years ago, give or take, and me and a couple of my buddies decided to go check out Norwich State Hospital, which is abandoned, for the first time. Unfortunately, we knew before we even went there that a lot of the buildings, most of the buildings had been torn down already, and only a few sadly remained left at the property. So we were kind of bummed out, but we still planned a trip and went over to the property and checked it out. So we pull up, right? We're trying to figure out a place to park because there's no area to park that's not discreet. You know, it's everything's out in the open, and everything's in close vicinity of each other. So if we were to park outside of the hospital, the abandoned hospital, it would be really close to the actual grounds and the actual buildings that remained, and it would have been obvious that there were people who parked their car there and probably were exploring or so on and so forth on the grounds if a police were to drive by and see our car just parked there with no one in it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. Luckily, there was an old cemetery right next to the property of the hospital, so we parked in this little in this little driveway that led into the cemetery. So we parked there, and then we went out on foot. So we saw one of the main buildings, which was way in the distance. The really big building, the old administration building, and unfortunately we didn't get to that building that day. I've been back obviously since, and I've been inside that building. Beautiful building, very historic in general, but that's beside the point. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to talk about what we experienced that day, and nothing more, nothing less. So we pick a building, we see a building across the street from the cemetery. We hightail it up to the building, run up to the building, and find access pretty quickly to get inside. So we go from being on the outside to being on the inside very quick. It didn't take long. Once we're inside of the hospital building, well, one of the buildings, we begin just to walk around. We start in the basement level, and then we worked our way up from the first and second floor throughout all the hallways and so on and so forth. One thing I want to point out is it was very noticeable the fact that the buildings being inside them was much colder than the actual temperature was on the outside of the buildings, which was really strange, and it gave us this weird eerie feeling to the whole exploration of that day. We're inside building number one, we're walking around, right? We're just bullshitting, we're talking, so on and so forth. I say that a lot, but who cares? In any case, and it's just cold in the buildings, and we have our respirators on in case there was asbestos, so we know we're safe and we're breathing just fine. Then out of nowhere, one of my buddies said he heard something that sounded like someone scream, which was probably not the case at first, because you would think that I would also hear someone scream if he heard someone scream. But I didn't take it lightly. I wanted to figure out exactly what he heard. He had already at that point cleared pretty much the entire building, the basement, the first and second floor, and so on. So we knew that there was no one else in the building. So I just politely requested and kind of demanded that whatever or whoever or whatever was there that made that scream that one of my buddies heard, if they could make that noise again so that I could hear it physically with my own 2 ears. And yeah, you guessed it, nothing happened. First, though. Eventually, something did happen. About 5 minutes go by, and we're just trying to stay quiet and be mindful of our surroundings. We're about to head out and head to another building. I hear a faint, I kid you not, a scream. It sounded like, I'm not going to explain, I'm not going to tell you guys how it sounded, because that would sound stupid coming from me, my voice, but it was definitely a scream. It sounded like someone crying out for help almost, like whimpering, but at the same time being able to scream. It was intense. And this time when I heard it for the first time, it sounded like it was coming. We were on the second floor at this point in time. It sounded like it was coming from below us, either down the staircase on floor number one or in the basement. Bless you. Anyways, back to the story. I didn't sneeze, so I had to, you know what time it is. I had to say bless you. It's the right thing to do, you feel me? Back to the video. It sounded like it was coming from below us, like I said, and that's when I ran to the staircase, and I left my friends in the dust. My two buddies, I left them behind, and I just ran to the staircase, went down to the first floor, and then went down to the basement, and the basement felt extra cold. So I got this vibe, like whatever screamed had to come from this eerie, dark, damp place. It must have been from the basement, right? You would think so too. And then right when I get down to the basement, before I start walking down one of the corridors, um, my other buddies meet me at the bottom of the staircase in the basement. And they're like, Mike, why'd you run off? What happened? What's good with you? And I was just like, guys, I had to see it firsthand. I wanted to catch whatever or whoever was making that scream as a sound, you know? So that's why I ran. Hi, we understand, we understand. You freaked us out for a little bit, but glad we caught up to you, Mike. Like, bet. Glad we're back together, reunited. It was only like 30 seconds. They lost track of time that long. Come on now. I wasn't gone more than 30 seconds. Anyways, now all three of us are in the basement. Very cold. Keep that in mind again. No, we don't hear a scream anymore. That was the last time. The first time I heard the scream and the second time they heard the scream was it. We didn't hear any more screams the rest of that day. But what we did hear after that was the sound of someone laughing. Someone laughing, like, I don't know the right word to put it in, but it sounded like maniacally laughing. Just like this evil, almost chuckling type of laugh. This is where I took off again. I ran towards the sound. Usually when I experience things that are otherworldly and that are almost unexplainable, I don't run towards the problem or the situation. I kind of be mindful in my own skin and kind of take things in a step at a time. But today, on that day, I actually just was like, you know what, it's happening. So at that point in time, I ran off and ditched my friends again, just for a brief second. It felt like forever, but it was only a few seconds that I ran off down the end of the corridor towards where we heard the laughing coming from. And it wasn't really loud, the sound of the laughing, but it was distinct enough to hear that there was something making that noise, that laughing sound. Anyways, guys, this brings me to this point of the story. Luckily, it was daytime out, and there was a little sun peering into the building that made it through the basement shutters, the basement windows, so I could still see. Because at this point, my flashlight went out, and with my friends being left in the back, and up the staircase or wherever I left them, doesn't matter. But they had the other flashlights, so now it was almost pitch dark in the basement, and I'm in the area where I thought I heard the laughing coming from. So I was like, oh my gosh, it just got real. So at that point in time, while I was waiting for my friends to catch up to me, lost my train of thought. Got it back. I'm waiting for my friends to catch up to me from me after I ran away from them. I happened to have one of these on me, EMF meter. So I pulled it out, and my flashlight was dead, so I was in almost pitch darkness. And I said, whatever, or whoever made that sound, if you can manipulate my device, it's spiking right now for some reason, that's strange. In any case, I was like, if you can manipulate my device and make the lights light up, that will be confirmation enough for me to know that something, not somebody, something. So at that point, I'm waiting there, waiting for my meter to go off. If it would go off, I was praying and hoping that whatever was there would give me that confirmation and make it go off. And then at that point, my buddies caught up to me. They're like, why'd you run off again? I was like, hey, it was an instinct. I had to do it. And I was like, my bad. But in any case, they saw that I was using my EMF meter, and they said themselves, they're like, if anyone's here or anything's here, can you manipulate the device? And then out of nowhere, it lights up. Not only does the device light up, we start to hear that laughter again on everything. But this time it came from the opposite end of the building in the basement. Then those cold spots we were feeling became freezing spots. And then out of nowhere, excuse me. Anyways, at that point, everything goes quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop on the floor type thing. So then and there, we had enough confirmation that there was something otherworldly that made that sound, or made those sounds, etc., from beginning to end. And we didn't take our chances any further. Started to head out of the building, back towards my car. We decided not to go into any other buildings that day because of how traumatic that whole experience actually was. Anyways, we're about to exit the building, right? And then out of nowhere, in the distance, way back from where we came from, I hear this door creaking, and then I hear it shut. Heard me right. The door literally shut. Way in the distance from where we had come from, in the basement. And we hightailed it out of there as quick as we could. And we got back to my car, and that's when we had time to recap about what just happened. It all seemed to happen so quickly. And then from there, on our drive home, after we went exploring, so on and so forth, into the next month, 2 months, even the past 2 years, we've still talked about it and how crazy of a day that was, actually. Yes, the place was very historic. There was a lot of history in the old abandoned hospital, but what we took away from the experience was something supernatural and not of this world. Crazy, it sounds dramatic, but it's true. Anyways, guys, with all that being said, there are some things in this world that just can't be explained, and that's exactly what happened to us on that day. We went urban exploring at Norwich State Hospital in Connecticut. It was truly an experience. I'll remember it for the rest of my life as one of many crazy experiences I've had urban exploring. But yeah, that's a wrap on this video. I appreciate you guys watching and staying tuned, and keep watching, keep staying tuned. Lots to come. Lots of content is coming out, guys, in the near future, so keep that in mind. And just to touch base, I hope you guys, like I said, really enjoyed this video, this story, true story. If you haven't already, check out what remains of Norwich State Hospital in Connecticut while you still can. I don't condone breaking and entering, nor do I condone vandalism, but you gotta get what you gotta get done, so get her done. Make it happen while you still can, because the buildings are being torn down at an aggressive rate. And pretty quickly. So I haven't been there in the recent past. So I don't know what's still up and what still remains. But definitely check it out if you can. If you're in the area, definitely worth it. Make sure you guys drop a like on this video. Drop a comment down below. I love the feedback. If you're not subscribed already, smash that subscribe button, guys. Appreciate y'all. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Stay tuned for all the content coming your way. As always, cheers and chow. Until next time. Peace. Be easy. For real.